Let's talk about working with ad reps from Facebook, Google, Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok, all the different places where you can advertise. So you should know that I really feel like they're great and that you can do a lot of amazing things with them. But couple of things. Number one, they're rarely there when you really need them, right? When you're just starting to set up your account. And here's what ends up happening is what's going to happen for most of us is they're just going to show up at some point in our email, in our account, and they're going to say, hey, I noticed some things about your account. Would you like some help? And then we finally get access to them. Wish that was different. I think somebody would make a lot of money if they just said, hey, let's give our newbies a chance to interact with our people. So what they're going to do is they're going to offer you a free consultation. So let's talk about how to interact with them in the best way that ends up with you getting the best results from them. Because I've had mixed experiences with them. I've had some amazing ones. I've had some really bad ones. I've had a lot of contact with my clients, having had both amazing and bad. So there are several things that you need to remember in this process of working with them. The first one is you've got to remember their primary purpose. So they are measured and rewarded on two things. Number one is, have they gotten you to run more ads on their platform or more spending or whatever? So basically their incentive is to get you to advertise with them. And so sometimes that's wonderful because some of these ad reps really, really recognize that the way you're going to advertise more is to get you better results. Then they get you better results and you spend more. Unfortunately, not everyone either has the skills or the motivation to do that well. And so what they end up doing is oftentimes they don't recommend the things that are important for you. So their secondary one is that you succeed. And there's some of these reps who that's the way they look at it. Primary, I'm going to get people to advertise more. Secondary, maybe or maybe not, they're going to succeed. I've seen many recommendations that are just wrong for this particular client. And so I strongly recommend you be very careful in this process. Number two, they tend to not be experts. They really don't know everything about how to make a campaign work. So especially if you're saying, hey, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I can't seem to make this work. That's the point where many of us are really approaching them. And that's the point where many of them are out of their area of expertise. What they're really good at is saying, this strategy works for this kind of client. And here are 5 different strategies that could work for this kind of client. That's what they're really good at, is recommending strategies, not so much helping you actually fix the campaign. That tends to happen, at least in my experience, anecdotally for them, not a huge amount of training on how to fix them. And here's what I have literally seen this happen several times. They tend to, they may suggest something that they heard in staff meeting that morning. In other words, they've never tested it. They don't know if this will work for you or 10,000 people or 10 million people. All they know is they heard a story in staff meeting that morning and somebody said, this is great. And they say, well, I'm going to talk to all my people about it today. It's sort of like working with a broker who calls you and says, I want you to buy IBM stock. Well, why? Well, maybe they heard about something, not necessarily that's right for you. Or here's another thing. They also may recommend that the company is currently pushing right now that hasn't even been tested. Because here's the thing. Again, Facebook, Google, all these different companies are constantly trying to come up with new ways of doing advertising to get more people to advertise more. And so they put it out there, and we've heard about it. There's a long list of graveyards of all the different kind of ad types, all the different kinds of ad targeting, all the different kinds of things that they've done over the years that just didn't work out because they didn't work for anybody. So no one continued doing them, but they initially have to get this group of users to start using them to see if it's going to work. And oftentimes the ad reps are the people who are assigned to go get people to start using this. So recognize, again, their incentive is not necessarily your best interest. All right. Number 3, they tend to have limited experience with actually making money from the advertising. So they may suggest ways to, for example, give you cheap clicks, but horrid results. I'm going to tell you a true story. I was working with a client. So I ran an ad agency for a number of years. I was working with the largest retailer of garage door openers in the world. And they're primarily in the United States. And the ad rep called me up and he says, Don, I've figured out the perfect way to get them cheaper ad clicks. Here's what we're going to do. Advertise in Pakistan. Great. They don't sell in Pakistan. And most people in Pakistan, I'm not sure because I've not been to Pakistan. Do they have garage doors? Do they have automated garage door openers? But because it's a real need, hey, people, he says, I can get you 1 cent clicks. And it's like, yes, but how's that going to help me sell more garage doors in Los Angeles? So literally, that was a conversation I had with an ad rep who called me with this beautiful idea. So, and here's another piece, because they're not that experienced with the actual making money part. They oftentimes will suggest things big brands do. Like, for example, I saw this the other day, somebody suggesting just pure awareness style ads to somebody. And it's like, that's perfect for Coca-Cola, for Hilton hotels, for all these things that, but it's not right for the person who has got $2,000 to spend on advertising. It's got to work to sell more stuff, and it's got to be direct response. So we want people to click on it and buy something. You do not run an awareness campaign in those situations. That's for people who have $10 million budgets that have got to spend this month. Okay. So you got to recognize the advice they're giving you may or may not be good because they really don't see the back end of the making money stuff. Because here's the 4th thing. They don't tend to understand direct response. Many of the people that are advertising are people who are either big advertisers, which most of the ad reps that are going to be talking to you are not going to be somebody who's working with Procter & Gamble or their ad agencies. But many of the others are people like a local chiropractor or somebody who's just trying to get more traffic to watch their YouTube video or whatever it is. And they're not direct response marketers who are, I'm trying to advertise to get somebody to join my list, to get somebody to attend this webinar, to get somebody to buy this product, to get somebody to attend this live conference, whatever those things are. That's called direct response marketing. Most of these ad reps don't get that. And they also really don't get the things like even the whole process of the funnel of going from lead to presenting them an offer, to getting them to buy something, to getting them to buy something bigger, to getting them into a high-end program. That whole process, they just don't get it. And so they're not necessarily going to give you the best advice on those subjects. So I've just told you a number of things you need to be careful of. And I do strongly suggest you do be careful with them. Now, I do think they're great. If you got the right one, they can actually make you a whole bunch more money. The challenge is you don't always get the right one. You can never assume that when you get on a phone with an ad rep that they are good, that they are informed, that they understand your kind of business, and that they have your needs at heart. So when they give you a recommendation, listen to it. If it's a good one, then do a limited dollar test. Say, okay, I'm going to put $100 on this or something like that, and let it run in a test. I suggest you run it in a separate campaign so it doesn't foul up your current campaigns, and you just run, hey, I'm going to put $100 into this. I'm going to put it in a separate campaign. I'm going to try this strategy and see if it works. Now, I'm going to give you 2 hints here that I think will help you a lot as you work with these ad reps. The first one is if they give you good comments, they're probably going to send you a review link at the end of each call where you get the ability to go and review their call. Give them raving reviews. What's that going to cause them to do? they're going to want to work with you more. So if they're giving you good results, good advice that helps you, by all means, praise them, because then they're going to want to work with you as opposed to somebody else. And they're going to be actively looking at your account and trying to figure out more things. The second thing is this. If you get a bad one, request someone else as soon as possible. And just say, you can do it non-offensively. It's just say, hey, I appreciate your working. I appreciate you keeping track of my account. It appears that there may be a little bit of a disconnect here, that maybe you don't understand my kind of business as well as I'd like you to. What I'd really like to do is request that I move to somebody else, preferably somebody else who understands X, and describe what it is that you're after so that they can refer you into somebody else. I've had ad reps do that. I've had ad reps say, no, I can't do that. At which point I simply ask the words, can you please send me to your supervisor? Then I get on the supervisor and I say, hey, I really appreciate the work that Josh has been doing with me. He doesn't seem to really get my business, and I really don't want to train him on how to get my business. What I'd really like to do is work with someone else who does understand this kind of business. Can you help me with that? Nicely, but firmly, no, I really do need a different ad rep because this one's not going to work for me. They can be a great help. I just suggest be careful. Just like you take every piece of advice that you receive through some lens of skepticism, by all means, do this with ad reps, because the difference between taking advice from somebody in a group that you're in is that advice may not cost you a lot. You do the wrong thing in Facebook, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 later, okay, that was bad advice. So these guys have the decisions that they're giving, the recommendations that they're giving you have direct monetary effects, positive and negative, on your account. If they're giving you good ones, they can truly revolutionize your business. They're giving you bad ones, they can cost you a bunch of money real fast. So I suggest you just be careful. Carve out separate campaigns. If you decide to take their recommendation, ask them lots of questions. Be very careful when you're asking specific questions on how to improve your campaign, because the answers may not be right. And recognize they're really good at recommending products, not helping you fix your campaigns. That makes sense? What's been your experience with working with ad reps? Let me know in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.